So yeah, I work for Cool Earth, which is a small UK-based charity, and we work alongside communities to protect forest. This statistic has been banded around the conference a lot today, which is that 12% of greenhouse gases actually come from deforestation, particularly of tropical rainforest. And 80% of that deforestation is actually from small-scale illegal logging, rather than the clear-cutting we think of when we think of the Amazon being cut down. And the best people in place to protect that rainforest are those that are living there, those that have the most to lose from its destruction. And Cool Earth began about 10 years ago with that in mind, that if you give communities a helping hand to protect their rainforests, it could actually be one of the most effective mitigation strategies for climate change. And we were very lucky that around that time, a chief of a community deep in the Peruvian Amazon heard about Cool Earth. This was a man called Cesar Bustamante. He was living on the banks of the Rio Na. To the east, there was hundreds of miles of pristine rainforest, and to the west, miles and miles of deforested, destructed land up to the foothills of the Andes. And Cesar had been offered thousands of dollars by some illegal loggers for 10 of the cedar trees in the community. And this was a very tempting offer at the time. The community was very poor. There were high rates of malaria. 100% of the school kids had anemia from lack of protein, and they didn't have enough money to buy fuel for emergency evacuations to hospitals. But Cesar and his community didn't want to sell their trees to the loggers. They'd been living there for generations. It was part of their life, and wanted to find an alternative solution. Cesar happened to be good friends with an extraordinary anthropologist called Dilwyn Jenkin, who'd been working with the Ashaninka community for the last 30 years. And he'd heard that Cool Earth was looking for more communities to work with and put us in touch. Cesar invited us to visit, and back then, we wanted to try a really simple idea of simply offering the community money, but with the agreement that they would have to form an association, have about 10 members of the community voted in to decide how that funds were spent, and to open a bank account to keep those funds safe, but also to agree to not sell any not sell any trees to loggers for the next year. And the community was able to spend that funding whatever they wanted. And they decided to spend it on a simple wooden structure for drying cocoa beans. And that meant that the cocoa beans then didn't go moldy, and they were able to make an extra profit. And that was invested back into the community. And within a year, there'd been no trees sold to loggers, and the community was very happy with the partnership. They told their neighbors, and we went from protecting 30,000 acres to gradually working with more communities and protecting 140,000 acres and working with a population of 3,000. This meant we were able to scale up and work in northern Peru with the Awahun community, and there we did similar things, investing in cocoa production and also some fish farming. And after a few years, we were able to use satellite analysis to look at what was going on the ground, and found that, quite shockingly, in the communities outside our partnership area, there was up to 25% degradation in the forest, whereas looking inside our partnership, it was less than 1%. So we were absolutely delighted to see this was working really well. And more recently, we've moved over to Papua New Guinea, where the social structure there is very different, but the threats are from palm plantation. The palm plantation is offering a lot of money to grow row upon row of palm trees. And here, the clan culture is very different to Peru, and the community association doesn't work quite so well because you have clans that are more dominant than others, and so getting cohesion and decisions about how the funding is spent is a little bit more tricky. But we keep persevering, and we're trying new ideas, the possibility of working at the household level or working with clans individually. And what we've done is also looked at our partnerships in more general and found that the benefits of using cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives, has been fantastic, but that it means that some of the community miss out on getting some of that funding, and also that those cooperatives tend to be led by men, and the funding doesn't necessarily reach down to the women and the children in the family. And the solution we found to that is utilizing those wonderful entrepreneurs, those key individuals in communities who have some great ideas but don't necessarily have the support or the means to carry out their ideas. And just by giving a little bit of support to them has worked really well. So for example, in our Awahun community, There's a group of about 30 women who produce beautiful jewelry from seeds from the forest. And they, with a little bit of support, they've been doing really well over the years, and they've actually managed to get a contract with a chain of shops in Peru, and they're now selling their jewelry nationwide. And in Papua New Guinea, more recently, some women have started up a sewing group, and they're selling clothes across in markets. And also there's a family bakery that's been going well, selling really good coconut scones. It's really hard not to want to help with so many needs across the communities. And three that particularly come to mind are the need to help with tenure, which has been spoken about so much at this conference. In Papua New Guinea, we gave some funds at the beginning of our project. In Peru, we gave some funds at the beginning of our project to help with some legal fees for that. And in Papua New Guinea, it's very different, where the community actually already own all the land, but some of those community landowners actually live outside the community, and that creates a little bit of conflict in how the forest is managed, and makes it a little bit harder to decide how to protect the forest with them. We've been looking for government support and ideas on that, and always looking out for new ways of making it work. Another problem we found across the communities is malnutrition, and particularly in Peru, where they often don't have enough protein sources. And we've been working with fish farming because the rivers just haven't got enough fish for the population, and also with breeding chickens. And then the final one that happens across all partnerships, particularly working with agricultural cooperatives, is the need for soil protection, getting nutrients back in the soil. And we've been very lucky to work with the Inga Foundation, who use a species of Inga plant native to the Amazon, which is brilliant at doing intercropping, can be used for fuel wood so that people aren't having to collect fuel from the forest. And we're hoping to use that elsewhere as well. And we're in a really lucky position that we have mainly unrestricted funding, which means that we can continue to be community-led. We can work with what the community wants on the ground at the time, try out new projects, and not be scared of making mistakes, and just keep working to make things work effectively. And what I want from this is to explain that we really would love to try our ideas in other parts of the world, and the best way of doing that is working with local NGOs who have the knowledge and the experience of working in those areas and know where the support for forest communities are needed most. So please do get in touch if you'd be interested in partnering with us. Thank you very much.